This is Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty and a Google search for my site. Hola, Adam.
Hola, Tom.
All
Been too
right,
long.
Adam. Yeah, that's right. We do this weekly. This is Credit Card Debt Talk. We, have some listeners, modest amount. I am beginning to spend some money in promotion, though, so I expect that to grow. The listeners we do get listen to a significant portion of what we produce. So we'll keep doing it if you keep listening.
It's good
Uh,
for them.
Adam, this is my intro is inspired by the other program I do like this called Voodoo Talk, and what I've decided is it's
Oh,
appropriate.
on that note, I forgot. I'll ship the chicken heads next week.
Yeah, right. So this is kind of a for listeners that are kind of wondering what this is and what it isn't. I claim there are four big topics on the internet that attract and keep attention, and they include sex, politics, religion, and celebrities. So, Adam, as
Sometimes
people
all four in one article.
sometimes if it's about Donald Trump, yes, or Bill Cosby. So Adam,
Bitter.
we're at the end. We're going to talk a little bit about politics, and there's so much to talk about. Uh,
That there
so
is.
so I'm saying yes to politics. However, listeners, if you're wondering whether you should stay tuned in or not, of course the choice is yours. Here's your assistance. We will have some politics at the end. Of course, politics sometimes includes celebrities, especially with Donald Trump in the game. We will not be talking about sex, either the act of sex or
No,
sex
but I figured
scandals.
out how to end terrorism. Deport the Kardashians.
Yeah, yeah, okay. So we will not be talking about sex, and we will not be talking about celebrities, other than and religion and politics are kind of always intertwined today, which is a frustration of Adam's and mine as well. So Adam, let's get started. Where I want to remind you, we ended is with uh, the only in the record of credit card debt talks that we have. There's only two that I've given a distinctive name to. In other words, every single one has the same name except two of them. One of them I added the topic credit score because I thought we covered that topic in a relevant, concise way, and so I thought that one was worthy of a specific a distinguished title. And then most recently, before Thanksgiving, we took 2 weeks off, Thanksgiving, and then following Thanksgiving.
Well,
And
that's my fault due to a family emergency, but let's continue.
okay, so the other one that got a distinctive title was Miss Spa and Mister. Who's the other guy? Cocktail. Remember Mister Cocktail?
I remember Mr.
All
Cox.
right. So I'm going to be done with my intro in a minute, Adam, and I want you to pick up from there. But basically, why I think these
One of
two
those
credit
seltzers.
card debt talks are relevant is number one, the one on credit score. I've have a long-standing introduction to this business that says people are too afraid of letting their credit score temporarily drop to get their debt paid. The fear is excessive. But then, as we've found with Miss Spa and Mr. Cocktail, the fear was actually in short supply, and it has to do with the things that people should not be afraid of, like credit score, and things that people should be afraid of, like their debt becoming
Punishments,
secured
levies,
through a
and
judgment.
yep,
So,
exactly.
anyways, pick up there, Adam, wherever you want.
Well, where we left off was just talking about mostly about Mr. Cocktail. Basically, he's not afraid of a rather large judgment against him. And once a judgment is issued, there's no such thing as an unsecured judgment. Judgments mean that the courts of the United States of America have deemed that you owe this money to somebody, and if they want to take action, they can take multiple actions to recover their financial reward.
Say that again. You tied the word secured in with judgment.
Judgments are automatically secured. So even if you had an unsecured credit card and you're like, well, it's unsecured debt, not once a judge says that it is owed, it is now secured. And the sheriff's office in whatever state you're in can be notified to seize assets in your name to satisfy that debt, no matter whether it was unsecured previously or not.
All right, let me add some irreconcilable data from Mr. Cocktail. When we
Here we
did
go.
the credit
Anyhow,
card debt
those
talk
are
where we talked about Mr. Cocktail's case. I expected not to hear from him again, though I did, and we had another conversation, and he still is
you could stay if you want.
has plans to track and buy a house. So, Adam, what is not reconciling with Mr. Cocktail is they did freeze his bank account, and the bank was able to get it released because it was a joint account. So he is under the impression that he is safe. He has no other
No,
assets.
he is not safe.
All right, hang on. Let me finish. He has no other assets, so his bank account is the only target. Since it's joint, he thinks he's safe. Say more.
Well, he got lucky that the bank made that decision. They do not have to release the funds because the bank account is joint. They did it as a courtesy, obviously. His wife must have put in a complaint. But the truth be known, up to 50% of whatever's in that bank account can be taken regardless of whether it's joint or not. If the creditor were to go back to the bank a second time with a modified order to freeze half the assets in that account, they would be able to get them.
Yeah, it's so again, to go back to the beginning, sometimes people are overly fearful of credit score, but yet here Mr. Cocktail is has fear in short supply. He feels very protected, and you're telling me he's not.
If he ever gets a tax refund, it'll be taken away. They're
Yeah.
allowed to seize your tax refund. He says he's going to apply to buy a house. It's going to stand in his way, I guarantee you.
Say more, Adam.
When you have an outstanding judgment unpaid, most mortgage companies are not going to allow you to go forward with your purchase until you satisfy that judgment.
Okay, and then say more about credit score because he's looking at. I think we told him. I forget, Adam. We told him we could do it for like $5,000. He would pay our fees and his debt for like $5,000. I sort of.
Well, he owes about $8,500. It would save him about $3,500.
Yeah. So he's under the impression that money would be better spent somewhere else. Like fixing his credit or on a down payment. But
You
if
can't fix your credit with a judgment on your record.
yeah, that's why he came to us in the first place. So I rescind that first thing. But he thinks his money is better saved for a down payment, and so he's not advancing with us. But what you're saying is that
He'll be back.
that's a fantasy. Yeah, that
Yes,
you've
he'll be
said
back.
enough. I'm going to call the fellow who referred him to us is Ramsey, so I'm going to call Ramsey again today.
No problem. No problem. We are expanding our
So wait,
reach.
let's cover Miss Spa. That was a messy thing. You had a hidden a deliberately hidden. This client had borrowed money. You thought it was unsecured. She had good reason to believe it was unsecured, but yet everyone was surprised. What was the net on that, Adam?
Well, we've refunded 100% of the funds that Miss Spa paid into our program. She was in the wrong for enrolling a secured debt. It wasn't our fault, but we don't take any fees from someone that we don't do work for. So we refunded her 100% of what she paid in. And we went out of our way to get her back on track with her regular payments to her creditor.
That's a very high interest debt? Do you think she'll ever pay it?
In about 13 or 14 years.
Right, right.
But she pays on it daily. There's no monthly bill, it's a daily bill.
She better hope the spa business is without interruption.
Well, she's in California, so I don't know. But either way, yeah, she dug herself a nice hole.
Yeah.
I was having a chat with a New York City attorney earlier this week about these merchant loans, these cash advances to
Okay.
merchants. And he's the attorney for the merchant loan companies and absolutely hates his job because all he sees all day long are small businesses being strangled by these loans. They're sold these loans, they're told things that these loans will be, and they're not any of the things they're told. They're completely predatory lending, but because it's to a business, not to a consumer, they don't fall under any of the consumer protection laws.
Right, right. That's
If a loan like this was sold to a consumer, it would be thrown out in court. There'd be no way it could ever be collected. The interest rates are higher than that of a loan shark.
Yeah, Adam. So why is that? You know, we always hear politicians telling us that small business, small business, small business, but yet this is a vulnerability in legislation.
It is a big vulnerability too, because I got a new client that's very similar to Miss Spa. She has 6 of these loans.
Oh God. Taking over
Each
Adam,
one
Adam,
is
Adam, Adam,
taking,
Adam, Adam, Adam,
hold
Adam.
on, you
Taking
got
over
to hear
what
the
period of time?
breakdown.
Taking over what period of time?
Taken over the course of a year and a half.
Uh-huh.
The loans are averaging somewhere between 5 and 20,000 each. Here's the problem though. There's a daily payment due for each one of these loans, and you don't pay it, they take it. When you sign up for these loans, you give them permission to take it right out of your daily credit card income.
Yeah,
So
I
your
understand.
credit card processing company says, okay, 12% of whatever comes in your credit card earnings today goes to company A. Another 12% goes to company B, then
Ouch.
company C, company D, company E, and then company F. That's 6. 6 times 12 is 72%. 72% of your daily earnings don't come to you. How are you supposed to survive on 28% of your daily earnings when a lot of businesses can't survive on 100% of their daily earnings?
Right, right. Absolutely.
And and for the first 6 years you're paying these loans back, you won't even touch the principal. The
And
interest rates range from 135 to 492% APR, calculated daily.
and these predatory lenders that are targeting merchants, they're they're durable. This is gonna this
They've
isn't
been around a while. It's a billion-dollar industry. They're not going anywhere anytime soon. They may get regulated soon, but even with regulation, they're not going to stop.
what as if you were writing a bill right now for law, where would you go first, Adam?
Well, first, I would make it impossible to take a piece of the daily take from a business. If you want to loan money, you've got to set it up where you have to be paid, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly. Set up a pay schedule and let the business owner pay you the money. If they don't pay it, they're delinquent, and then you can take collective action. This automatically forfeiting part of your daily income without any say whatsoever is strangling the small businesses who take these loans. And when
No,
I say strangling, I'm not being nearly vivid enough.
no, I do get it, Adam. What is preventing them from closing a bank account, opening up merchant processing somewhere else? They,
Well, there's 2 problems. A is that security that we found in Miss Spa. That hidden paragraph is in a lot of these contracts. And it
yeah,
allows them to go to whoever your processor is and say, look, here's the deal. She signed this, it's secured. We get 12% of whatever's
yeah,
processed.
yeah,
Just
yeah. So
who's processed
they can chase her.
easily without
Yeah.
even going to court.
Adam, that second business you referred to, we've talked about Miss Spa, and that's a spa business in California. This other business, the number sounded quite higher. What is that business?
That is a landscaping business.
Uh huh. God, that's tough. You're landscaping. I assume it's a seasonal state.
Well, it's in Arizona, so it's all year round.
Oh, okay.
But there is a slowdown between, say, Thanksgiving and maybe March 1st. There is a slowdown, but it's not a close down like it is in
All right,
the
Adam. So give
Northeast.
me this in a more detailed. We all know that consumers in this situation have some regulations to protect them, and as you've articulated, those
Do not
regulations
apply.
are relevant. They collectors in this case have some powers over merchants that are debilitating that they would not have over consumers. What
Well,
you can
sure.
do for a consumer is significant. What you can do for a merchant is sort of less. So, Adam, with that said, it is also known that merchants have financial advantages over consumers. And where is you bankrupt the business, you open under a new name, and you say F you?
There is a clause in every one of these merchant cash advances that makes the person who takes the loan personally liable if the business doesn't pay it.
Yeah, but then it becomes then they fall under consumer
Correct. Then
protection,
they
right?
fall under consumer protections. They still have to pay the debt, but then it's settleable, and that's how we're working them.
Would you ever, given what I described, would you ever advise a client, either of this the landscaping or the spa, to say, you know what, you can't make it, you're going to lose your business before you go crazy and fall apart? Go ahead and file bankruptcy and reopen.
I have attorneys that would advise that. I personally wouldn't because it would make me legally liable.
Okay, but what is your comment on the advice?
I don't think it's the worst advice in the world. I mean,
Right.
there's a company in Florida that came to us that has $700,000 worth of these loans.
Wow.
$700,000 in merchant advance loans. With the
700?
interest, they owe back $3.7 million.
Unbelievable. What are they doing? What's their business?
Excavation. They're an excavating company. They had landed a very big government contract, but that contract got canceled after they took the loans to buy the equipment they needed to fulfill the contract.
Right, right, right.
So
So,
now they're stuck with the loans and no way to ever make enough money to pay them back.
all right, Adam, the hindsight's 2020, but you got the ink dried on a significant contract you're excavating. This is huge business. Why did they have to borrow from such sleazeballs?
Well, because their past had one or two teeny little black marks on it, so no bank would loan them the money.
Really? Even with a contract?
Banks right now are not loaning money to small businesses, only to big businesses with very high stock value.
Right.
Small businesses cannot go to the local bank and expect them to give a $20,000 loan. It just won't happen.
But a spa sounds like a small business. Excavation on a government contract. This sounds like not so small business.
That's why the numbers have extra zeros on the end.
Right, right, right.
You know, the normal cash advance is 7 to 10,000. In this case, it's 700,000. So,
All right. So
so
predict that. What's that business going to do? What's the landscaping going to do?
well, the landscaping business,
Or,
we're going to
or,
settle
or
those.
no. I said that wrong. What's the really big one?
The
Excavation.
excavation company. Well, we're going to work with them on this because I think we can get a reasonable settlement considering the dollar amounts involved. They owe 7. I expect to be able to settle it for about 320,000.
They
Broken
have.
up, broken up over a good 24-month payment plan.
So they still have revenue.
Well, that's why I'm looking at 24 months. They do have revenue. They are doing other excavations. They are a privately held company, separate from the government contract.
So Adam, what? Why are they? Why would they negotiate with you? They have this company under a barrel, over a barrel. That company has revenue. They can just keep taking. Why would they even say, okay, we'll reduce it?
Well, you know, this excavation company is about to file a hardship paper. They're changing and they're not going to accept credit card payment anymore. So there'll be no processor to approach to take their money from.
Okay.
And they've
Okay.
changed banking.
I see. Very good.
So they've made
Interesting.
it impossible for this company to recoup its $700,000. It will become a lawsuit. We will put a lawyer in that state on it in order to defend them. And
Yeah.
while that defense is going on, and you know, of course, the defense is that the loan is usury, that it's predatory, that it was given based on a government contract that no longer exists. We will continue to aim to settle it for 250,000, broken up in payments of 10,000 a month for 25 months.
Right. So Adam, the the if I'm trying to imagine our conversation through the ears of a consumer. They have heard nothing, nothing good on this phone call. So transition out of this business disaster. Why is it
Well,
different and more
that's what
attractive
I'm about
for?
to do.
But
Okay.
hang on, Adam. Adam, I'm going to give you 2 assignments. Transition. Try to think about the ears of a consumer. Let's get out of this merchant thing. Finish. Do a tidy wrap up, and let's move to religion, politics, and celebrities.
All right, because I got to be done in about 10 minutes. So
That's all
let's
we
let's
need.
move on here. All right. Consumers are a different animal completely. It's the difference between hunting a grizzly bear and hunting a pheasant. Okay. when you deal with consumers, you have the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, which is federal law that says what collectors can and can't do. They're not allowed to seize assets without a judgment in a court of law, unlike businesses where assets can be seized without ever going to court. Consumers have a ton of protections at their disposal, but only if they know what they are. And that's why a company like ours is so important. We know every consumer protection there is when it comes to debt. We even know of some protections for these merchants, but they're not the same. They're not federal. They're different by city.
Right.
So not even in the same state are they the same. They're different in every city.
Okay, so let's
that's
talk
why
about
consumers don't have to worry about the nightmare that is these merchant loans.
now.
Consumers have to worry about payday loans.
Now, Adam, you talk about protections, and I want to make this specific. And also, we already mentioned Mr. Cocktail in his state, which is Pennsylvania. They cannot garnish. What is behind that, and why is it in some states and not all? And is it progressing in one direction? More
the U.S. Constitution says if it is not specifically given to the federal government, the state gets to make its rules. Wage garnishment was left to the states. 3 states do not allow wage garnishment, and the other 47 do.
Oh, so it's just Pennsylvania. It comes up again and again. It's not that a lot of states have it. It's just that you have a lot of Pennsylvania clients.
We have a lot of Pennsylvania clients, Texas clients. We have a few North Carolina clients. All of them cannot be wage garnished.
So what is the politics?
Bank accounts can't be seized.
What is the politics of that? Those 3 states they sound disparate. You're talking about Pennsylvania, which is politically different than distinguished from Texas.
Well, yeah, it was at the time that these laws were written, these states actually had a lot in common. Not that they do anymore. I mean, Texas and North Carolina still have a lot in common, but North Carolina is now we're going to start the transition to politics here.
Let's do that.
Texas was a landowner's dream state. You could go to Texas when Texas first became a state and claim humongous amounts of property when you bought land. We're talking, you'd buy a house, you got 12 acres with that house, and that's a lot of land. And because of that, wages in Texas were always quite low because the cost of living was quite low in that state. Sorry about that. Still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, a call tried to come through. North Carolina, the same thing. Back when it was one of the first 15 colonies and states to come into existence, the same thing. It was not one of the big epicenters of the country. And Pennsylvania, of course, was, but Pennsylvania was the most liberal of the 3 states and wanted more consumer protections.
Okay.
So these 3 states, when they had the chance, all decided that wage garnishment was not conducive to the public's well-being. And I happen to completely agree with that.
Repeat, Adam. You agree with what? Because I thought you were going to say the opposite.
No, I agree that wage garnishment is not conducive to getting debts paid. It really isn't. It is conducive to people losing employment.
Yeah.
A lot of employers, now it's illegal for an employer to fire you just because your wages are being garnished.
Yeah.
So what employers do is if your wages are being garnished and you're 1 minute late to work one day, they'll fire you for being 1 minute late to work.
Right.
They'll give a plausible reason for your firing to not have to work around the wage garnishment. It's an accounting nightmare.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania never worries about it. Texas never worries about it. And there are very, very few cases where North Carolinians have to worry about it.
Yeah. All right, Adam, politics.
All right, politics.
Today in the news, Hillary Clinton says, I no longer think Donald is funny.
I no longer think he's funny looking, but that's something else, isn't it? Donald has never been funny. Well, Donald is a fascist.
According to Hillary, he was at one time.
Well, he's always been a clown. That's a fact.
Yeah.
He runs a circus called Trump International. But the whole point is Donald makes some statements that are off the wall. And his statements and his way of thinking are that of a very sheltered individual. This is my opinion, and I'm entitled to it. I've met Donald Trump on more than one occasion. He's not a bad guy, but you don't want him running your country. In fact, I would gladly vote for Donald Trump to be president of just about any South American nation, or possibly any Middle African nation, or anywhere where a fascist can do really well for their country, but not in a democratic society.
So, Adam, speak about. I think there were candidates that missed an opportunity. These are competitors to Donald, Republican candidates. When he came out and said, you realize every other candidate has denounced this Muslim ban, and
well, they have to.
Yeah, they have to. Okay, so let's take that have to. If you're in the press and you have to, and then they all of them acquiesced on this question. They all dodged the question when they were asked, okay, fine, you disagree with Donald on this. What if he becomes the nominee for your party? What will you do? And they said, I support the nominee. They wouldn't say, yes, I'll support Donald. I think there was an opportunity missed where they should have said, there comes a point where people have to choose between their party and their country. I am an American before I'm a Republican. Nobody said that.
How about this? How about taking that one step further, logically?
Okay.
There comes a time when they have to stop supporting their party and support common sense.
Right. Well, that's what. Why did that not sound like what I said?
Because it wasn't what you said.
Why is what I said different?
Supporting their country does not necessarily support common sense either. There were tons of Hitler supporters.
Okay. All right, fine. If I would have said, and support what is best for one's country, I know you get crazy because you think a Republican saying
different things are best for one's country. Donald thinks it's best for the United States of America to ban all Muslims from entering the country.
Yeah, but indirectly.
That's what he thinks is best for his country.
I knew I wouldn't be able to get anything out of you.
I'm quoting him.
You know, Adam,
but
you're talking to me.
We wouldn't have Muhammad Ali or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or several different TV stars, since you want to add celebrities like Mindy Kaling, if you ban Muslims from this country.
He made exceptions.
Yeah, of course he made exceptions.
Do you know what they were? I can list them.
I got some news for you, though. About $3 billion worth of holdings of Donald Trump's are tied up in Muslim countries.
Yeah.
Recently opened a golf course in Saudi Arabia.
Right. Twitter had a bunch of pictures of him and Muslim people.
Yeah, he has no problem doing business with them, but don't come in my country.
Right. One was a beauty queen. She was and of course, young, attractive, in her prime, beauty queen, and there's Donald, all smiles, and she's Muslim.
He's equating terrorism with a religion, and that's not correct. Terrorism is terrorism, and religion is religion. The two are mutually exclusive of one another. They combine when it's convenient, but they are not intertwined permanently.
Yeah.
Look at the Crusades. For those who think, all right, I'm going to point out a fact. 168 Americans died in one of the greatest acts of domestic terrorism ever. And that act of domestic terrorism was done by a white Christian by the name of Timothy McVeigh.
Timothy McVeigh, of course.
So should we ban everybody named McVeigh? Or just all white Christians?
Yeah, I understand that. All right. Let me try to push this to the future. What's going to happen with the Republican Party?
The Republican Party has shot itself in the foot so many times recently. I don't know if they can ever recover the sanity. I call them the party of the crazy, and you know that.
All right, Adam. I'm going to quote some stats that I heard recently, and I trust you know them, but your source might be different, memory might be different. you add up all the minorities. Now, I don't really know what the list is, but that's certainly black, Latinos, plus, plus, plus. So what the total list is, I don't know. But if you look at all the minority voters in both of the Obama elections where he was victorious, the amount of minority vote collectively that Obama got was 80%. Is this somewhere near what you believe to be the number?
Somewhere near that number, yes.
And what would that list of minorities be? You agree, Latinos, blacks, who else is in that list of minorities?
Orientals.
Okay. All right.
I'm
So whatever
finishing.
the list is, he got 80%. And you are aware that when Mitt Romney lost, that the Republicans say, never again. We are not going to alienate any one specific group ever again.
And then 2 weeks later, they alienated women. 3 weeks after that, they alienated Hispanics.
No. You ran too fast. You are in agreement. The Republican Party publicly said it.
They said it, but they
Adam,
said one thing and did the opposite.
But do you believe in the making of that statement? Was it just a blatant lie, or in their hearts did they say, no, this is how we are going to win, and if we don't do this, we will lose? Do you believe there was a sincere a logic behind the statement, or was it just a lie?
It was a lie they told themselves.
A lie they told themselves. Okay, so that's fine. It's a lie they told themselves. At least they believed it. You believe for a moment they believed that's what they were going to do.
Yes.
Okay.
They believed they would do that until the reality hit them of, wait a minute. So in other words, this Mexican guy, we can't say deport him just because he might be an American citizen?
All right. So Adam, with that said, you're gonna roll with examples in a week, in a day, and 10 days after they said it, after Mitt Romney lost.
There are tons of examples.
Now I know, but wouldn't you say that if you hypothetically dial the clock back to when Mitt Romney lost, Obama wins his second term, wouldn't you say that what Donald Trump is doing is the catastrophic failure of that dream, the Republican dream of not offending any one group? They've offended all of them, and not only offended them viciously.
But don't you understand? You have to go one extreme or the other. You have to either do what the Democrats do, which is not offend anyone. They're the party of all. Or you have to offend everybody evenly and then just say, well, we're offensive, but this is what we believe.
Okay, and
it leads to a close race. I mean, when Obama won, he beat Mitt Romney by what, 1.5 percentage points?
Yeah.
When Obama won the first time against McCain, he won by 1.5 percentage points, maybe 2. It's been very close. There have been no landslide elections for a long, long time. Even Bush winning re-election was by 1 percentage point over Kerry.
And over
Bush beat Kerry for re-election.
Yeah, but the one that he lost, but he won.
Well, he didn't win that one, so I didn't count it.
Okay.
Bush lost by a 0.5 percentage point.
Al Gore. Anyway. That was Al Gore. He lost, but he won.
Right. He lost, but was appointed by the Supreme Court.
Right.
And by the U.S. Senate, by the way. The actual way that worked was that no senator would sign on. A senator has to sign on for there to be a dispute in the final presidential tally. And even though in Congress there were thousands of congressional, what's the word I'm looking for? Disputes. But until a senator would sign on to one of those disputes, they couldn't be heard. Some Congress people filed 30 or 40 of them each. And there are 450 some odd, Congress people. Almost everyone in Congress wanted one senator to come forward and sign on to one dispute.
Yeah, you're talking about Gore. You're talking about Gore's loss.
Gore's loss, yes.
Al Gore's loss. All right, Adam.
Al Gore's not lost. Al Gore won. Well, he did. He's the only president who ever got elected but never took office.
All right. So, Adam, what about guns in the Supreme Court? I don't quite understand this ruling.
I think we should be able to bring guns into the Supreme Court.
No, what was the deal with? They said that they would not hear a case, so basically there is some latitude for I think it's cities, not states, but cities to say, no, you can't have assault weapons.
Again, look at what happened in Washington, D.C. Anyway, yes, cities. The trouble is, cities though have to answer to the state and then to the federal government. It's very complicated to get any kind of weapons ban anywhere, and it's really sad. Our country has a major gun problem. Major.
Adam. But the ruling, the Supreme Court ruling this week, which was not a ruling, they ruled that they would not hear the case, which in
Right.
fact,
That means that whatever the ruling was of the lower court stands.
right. So you're sort of saying that's impotent. It really doesn't make any practical difference.
None.
Okay. One other thing, this got overshadowed by San Bernardino, but there was a man who accumulated weapons and guns, and he didn't use them, which is why it wasn't headline newsworthy, especially during the San Bernardino week. However, he accumulated, in addition to all the weapons, he had 5,000 guns in his home.
Well, I'm not surprised. I'm sorry, I'm not. Until people understand that we're all reading the Second Amendment wrong, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
We are all reading it wrong, and we are all interpreting it wrong, and we are giving it new meanings which were never there in the beginning.
All right, Adam, give me for a minute, let's say it's being interpreted correctly. You give me that for a minute?
I'll give you that for 1 minute, but that's it, just 1 minute. I know for a fact it's not.
I'll speak fast. So in other words, if it is properly interpreted and it does give the right, no right in this country is given to anyone without limits, true or false?
That is true.
Right. We have freedom of speech, but you
can't yell fire in a crowded theater. We have freedom of religion, but not if your religion says you have to kill people.
Right. So why is this so often interpreted by those who favor its interpretation? So why is it so often interpreted that it is without limits? Right to bear arms without limits. You claim it. You make a different claim that it's not even saying what it's claimed to be saying. But if you say, okay, let's set that aside for a minute.
I'm reading it in English. I don't know what language.
All right, Adam. Come on. You gave me a minute, and I've overrun the minute. Of course I was. Of course I would overrun the minute. So I'm still asking for an extension on this idea that we're not going to talk about its misinterpretation. So this idea, why is it that it's kind of a new concept, or at least it was to me, that this idea, hey, okay, fine, it gives you the right to have guns, but all rights have limits. Why is that not a fresher, more forced argument?
Well, because of the last 4 words of the Second Amendment. Shall not be infringed.
Okay. And
shall not be infringed specifically says shall not be infringed, which means no restrictions whatsoever, no infringements of any kind.
But Adam, we have them. We don't allow bombs. You can't have a bomb.
Actually, technically you can, under the Second Amendment, if interpreted the way you're asking to interpret it.
Okay, but Adam, you can put someone in jail for having a bomb. You're driving around with a bomb. You get caught on your way to someplace. There's a bomb plot. You haven't blown up anything else, but you have a bomb. You can be prosecuted for having a bomb. I hope so.
No, not really. We're tired and hungry. I understand. It is not 1 o'clock.
All right, we'll wrap up.
I have to finish this. All right, let's do a little wrap up here.
I will. You can just sign off, Adam. I'll do your contact.
Wait. I'm going to wrap up though just by reading the English words of the Second Amendment, since it is 1 sentence long. It is 1 singular sentence long.
Okay.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the common defense, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, period. I have just read the entire Second Amendment. Somehow the first half of the sentence gets obliterated and ignored for the second half of the sentence.
Well, you don't mean somehow. You mean strategically for the...
No, when the Supreme Court interpreted it, they only interpreted the second half of the sentence. They ignored the fact that there's a first half of the sentence. Nowhere in the Supreme Court rulings does it say anything about the well-regulated militia, which is the first three words.
What Supreme Court ruling are you talking about, Adam?
Supreme Court has ruled on gun control 6 separate times in this country's history, and they all continue to say the right of the people to keep and bear arms should be a separate sentence, even though it's not. It's the right of the people to keep and bear arms, and then this thing about a militia is something completely different. It's another thought. It should have been its own amendment.
You're not
It's
talking
one
like
sentence. The founding fathers wrote it as
like
one
a guy.
sentence for a reason.
All right.
I passed college English. I know what I'm talking about.
All right.
One sentence equals one thought,
All right.
not multiple
Adam,
thoughts.
in addition to being an advocate for gun, what would you call yourself? For smart gun laws? For you want the termination of citizens holding guns. Am I correct?
I want the term. Let's not. That's not quite the right statement to make. I do want smart gun laws. I am for strict gun control.
Something like Australia.
Well, something like Australia or even Japan. Gun violence in Japan is basically non-existent.
All right. Adam is the founding partner of Financial Rescuers. He and George Tedros. The company was founded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Adam, for personal reasons, has moved to Tempe, Arizona, where he has opened an office, hired and trained his own staff. George remains where the company began in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And they do, we talked quite a bit on this call about merchant debt, the primary client. Most of your business, Adam, is still consumers, right?
95%
Yeah,
is
so
consumer.
most of the debt, so this call was in reverse proportion of what Adam's business is. We talked way too much, wasn't too much, but we talked way over the midline of merchant debt, whereas Adam's business is nearly 100% the other side, which is consumer debt, and it's quite different as Adam described. So Adam's office number is 866-516-1985, and the website is financialrescuers.com. And I am a receptionist for Adam's business 8 hours a week, and I answer that number, the toll free, once again, 866-516-1985. I answer that the morning hours 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. Algo más, Adam?
Nada más.
All right. You're in your office, right?
Yes, I am.
All right. From Hoboken and the great North American desert near Sky Harbor International. Have you disrupted your accounting neighbors recently, Adam?
Have I done what?
Disrupted your accounting neighbors recently?
Oh, just once every 2 days or so.
Ciao, amigo. Ciao. Que tenga un buen fin de semana. Ciao.
Ciao.
This has been Tom Duty, middle-aged American living in New Jersey near the Lincoln Tunnel. If you were to visit my website, you would type Howdy Doody into Google. You'll find the correct spelling of the famous puppet. You then combine Tom Duty in a Google search for my site. Thank you for listening. Have a good day, good evening, or restful night's sleep. Ciao.